How we doing, Jamie? We're good to go? All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming to the Town Board's meeting. Before we actually get started with the meeting, we have a public hearing scheduled today on the historic landmark designation for the Millard and Meig House. And so at this point, at 6 o'clock, we'll open the public hearing for anybody who would like to be heard on this proposition. So if anyone would like to be heard, please step up, and we'd be happy to hear you. I don't think this is a very controversial step. It's a very worthwhile candidate for landmark designation, so I'm not surprised that no one's objecting to it. All right, if there's no one, we'll close the hearing at 6:02, and we'll proceed with our town board meeting. And I'd like everybody to join me in a salute to the flag and a silent prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All righty, thank you very much. Let's see, Cynthia, I think you wanted to be recognized for a point.
Yep, I asked the supervisor if I could take a minute to reflect on a member of the town family that we lost recently. If I look around this room, I'd venture to guess that virtually everybody in this room knew Rhett. Rhett Crotto was an institution in Malta, and his death leaves a huge hole in our lives. He was a neighbor and a good friend. And if Rhett considered you his friend, he was all in. You became part of his family. He was always ready with a smile and a friendly hug. He regularly actually drove around our neighborhood and would just wave at your house whether you were out or not, just so that you knew he was thinking about you on the way by. He was a local businessman for 50 years, and when you went to the shop, it was a social visit. You'd find yourself going in there, and there'd be other people, and there'd be conversations about, could be almost anything, and you always felt welcome. He also was a volunteer firefighter with the Malta Ridge Fire Company for, I believe, more than 50 years, Malta Ridge Volunteer Fire Company. He served as the assistant chief. He was dedicated to his family, our town, his business, and his friends. We knew him as the mayor of Malta, at least up here in the north end. He was taken from us way too soon. He had a lot of plans to travel in his RV with his wife, Bev, and their 6 little dogs. Fortunately, they're just little Yorkies, so I guess they all fit in the RV. Our neighborhood and Malta will deeply feel this loss of this very special man for a long time. It'll never be the same again. Rest in peace, my friend.
Very well said.
Absolutely. And I'd also like to mention the passing of Joan Sweeney since our last meeting. Joan was a terrific asset to the town of Malta. She was a longtime volunteer on our CERT team. She was very active in Malta Seniors, and she passed since our last meeting. So we'll pray for Joan and for Rhett. Thank you very much. Okay, the first item on the agenda is to accept the town clerk minutes.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay, we have 2 presentations tonight. The first one is by Paul Perrault to Diane, about Diane Parsons. Paul, can you step up to the lectern?
Almost 20 years ago, on September the 11th, 2001, terrorists in 4 hijacked airplanes killed 2,977 innocent victims in our country. Of that number, 2,753 died at the World Trade Center in New York City. They include 343 firefighters, 60 police officers, and 8 paramedics. Also killed were 40 members of the New York State Tax Department, who are on the 87th floor of the South Tower. One of the tax department employees was Diane Parsons from Malta. Ironically, Diane was there on her once-a-month trip to the center. Diane was born and raised in Stillwater. She was 58 years old at the time of her death, and the mother of 3 and a grandmother. She and her husband, Howard Parsons, lived on Thimbleberry Road, and Diane also was the popular weekend hostess at the family's-owned Bishop Gates Restaurant in Parade Ground Village. We are all saying goodbye in this world, always standing on the edge of loss, attempting to retrieve some understanding of the meaning of life. Perhaps the meaning we should derive from Diane's death was given to us by her son Frank at her memorial service 20 years ago, when he said, "Her death was caused by blind hatred. We can't allow ourselves to sink to that. May she rest in peace."
Thank you very much, Paul. The second presentation we have tonight is the Global Founders Town of Malta Foundation. And Emily, I think, or Emily, is that you? Okay. Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Well, thank you. It's really nice to be here. Last year, I think none of us could get together, so it's really wonderful to be back with this tradition as we today are announcing that we're opening our 10th year grant season. We started in 2011, and the Global Foundries Malta Foundation since then has contributed about $1.4 million over many worthy causes in the community that directly benefit the citizens of Malta. So we are very proud and humbled to be able to continue with that program. Launching today, press release has gone out today, and our grant application season will be open through October 31st, and we're really looking forward to being able to help many wonderful organizations. I'd also just like to, since we weren't here last year, we've had some changes on our board, and I would just like to share the board membership with everybody so that you're aware. I've taken on the position of president of the board. Steve Grossclose has moved on. Woody Sloat has joined us recently as our vice president. Karen Hagan is continuing in our secretary role, and Karen's here with us today. Dave Meager, of course, you know, and he handles the money for us, does a great job with that as our treasurer. And Melissa Martin joined us as the communications chair last year. So we're again very privileged to be in these positions and look forward to making some tough decisions, but great decisions on the money that that will be given out this year. And each year we're in the neighborhood of around 150,000 that gets donated across, usually somewhere between 40 and 45 organizations in the community. So we look forward to a great year, and thank you for your support. We'll be back in December. I think we have a date picked in December for our celebration, and looking forward to being able to do that in person this year. So.
Thank you very much, Emily. And as always, the town is just immensely grateful for the contributions made by the foundation. And thank you to all the members of the foundation for doing that for Malta. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have one action item on the agenda tonight, and that is the appointment of a community clerk, community center clerk.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Well, welcome to Jennifer Catallo. When will she be starting, Alyssa? Tomorrow. Fantastic.
Didn't waste any time with that, did you?
Welcome, Jennifer. Okay, do we have any comments or announcements from town board members?
I want to say one thing while we've got all these Malta Ridge Volunteer Fire Company personnel here. There was I think it was Friday, there was a fire in our neighborhood. And despite the fact that apparently the call went out for Colomer Road, I don't know how many of you know, there's a Colomer Road, there's a Colomer Drive, and there's a Colomer Street maybe, or Ave. They managed to get there before any of us even saw any smoke. But, I wish my grandson had been here to see all the apparatus, because he would have loved every second of it. So thanks Round Lake for their mutual aid, and Glad we have you guys.
Sure.
Except the chief-
Absolutely.
The chief was out of town, though.
Any other town board members have any announcements? Department
Yeah, Darren,
heads?
I'm sorry, Darren, I just would like to give a shout out to the staff the past week in your absence when I filled in for a few days. Everyone kind of helped me out and showed me around places I haven't been within the town hall, and just overall welcome being and good experience.
And thank you very much, Mark, for sitting in for me. I really appreciate it. It was very comforting to know that the town was in good hands, so thank you.
My pleasure.
Comments from town residents. Would anyone like to address the board on any topic? We'll also have another one later on in the meeting if anyone has anything to say about what we talk about. Okay, we're going to talk about the meeting next Monday, a week from tonight. We're going to talk about the items that'll be on the agenda for action. The first item will be the historic landmark designation, and that's for the Millard Amig House that we've talked about before. I think that's fairly clear. The next one is the item we've discussed, I think in a workshop, the technology upgrade for this boardroom. So hopefully we can make our meetings more transparent and easily accessible without having to kind of cobble together cell phones or speaker phones and things like that. So we're looking forward to that.
So Darren, will we actually have a proposal to vote on for purchasing, or
We'll have,
for next
yeah,
week?
we'll have a proposal to dedicate the money for it and,
Okay.
and secure the
So we can
proper
actually
people.
get that done
Yeah,
Quickly, hopefully.
quickly,
Yeah.
and then we'll be able to more efficiently live stream and
Yeah.
all of that.
the resolution will be to authorize the use of the American Rescue Funds for
Okay.
this purpose, and with the amount of 70,000.
I don't know, Jamie, are you going to be okay with this, not having to handhold all of our technology? It's long overdue, so I'm excited.
All right, the next item will be to amend the procurement policy, and that's to add a subdivision in the exemptions that will allow us to piggyback on other solicitations that comply with state law. This will just give us a little bit more flexibility to save some money on certain procurements. And if the board has any questions about the details of that, Kevin would obviously be the best person to ask that, and he'll be in at the meeting next week. The next one is a regular item that I'm sure the board remembers, and this is to have cash distribution for the distribution of the sales tax revenues.
Do we know if, reportedly, sales tax are up everywhere in this New York State. Do we know if our disbursement is bigger than we anticipated?
I think it is. Yeah.
Where's Kevin when we need him?
Yes. Well, he took some of that money and bought a condo.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah. Okay, we have one authorization for the Maltaville Water Assistance Grant that will be before the board next Monday. And the next one is a very happy one. We're very grateful to Dave Rosenberg for agreeing to another term on the Board of Assessment Review. Dave, thank you very much, and I predict that this will be approved by the board next Monday night.
And Darren, you saw my request to double his salary for next year, right?
Absolutely. Thank you, Dave. Next one will be budget transfers. We'll have a few, not huge ones. They're fairly straightforward. The next one will be a speed reduction request for Nelson Avenue. This is an item that's been studied. Apparently, there aren't a whole lot of speed limit signs on the road. There are still farm vehicles on that road. Hopefully, they'll still be there for a long, long time. But it creates some danger with cars traveling at 55 miles an hour. So, it's kind of up for discussion from the board. I know John unfortunately couldn't make it tonight because he's out of town. I know he lives in that area, so I'm sure he's going to, have some input on this issue next week. But it seems to me to be a good candidate for posting of signs and reducing the speed limit in accordance with our Highway Safety Committee and the letters that we've received from, and the petition we've received from the people up there.
Can you just refresh me about what the process is? We can't just change the speed limit.
No, it's a county road. I guess we'd be in
Okay.
touch with Chad, up at the county, and we'd go through whatever steps are necessary to do it. We just, need to make sure that the board, wants to go about doing this, and then we'll set the procedure in motion.
Okay, and is it likely to be successful?
I don't know. What do you think, Steve? I think yes. My answer is yes.
I mean, I think at the county level, I wouldn't anticipate opposition unless there's something that we don't know about. But it's like a joint application from the town and the county, and then when it gets up to the next level, I wouldn't like to make a guess as to whether it would be, but I mean, I think there's support, from both town and county that, that we should expect it to be lower.
Of course, then the other issue is enforcement, because
Right.
we have no enforcement, but hopefully some people will slow down.
Yeah, we'll have to get that speed sign up there once or twice to remind people. Okay, any other business for us?
I got a question on the technology upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned there was a workshop on that? I don't.
Not on that subject. It was on American Rescue Funds that we
Oh.
talked about it. Yeah,
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
sure.
I appreciate it.
Comments or questions from town residents? Would anyone? Yes, Travis.
Good evening, Travis Feely over on Hills Road. Good to hear about the technology. I think that's going to be great, better access to town board meetings, things that's going on in the town. But that kind of ties into what I was anticipating asking about tonight. And that's basically with the rise in COVID, Delta, and all that sort of fun stuff. Right now, we're at a point which I think is working for everybody in this room is, if we feel like we should wear a mask, we should wear a mask. If we don't think it's necessary, we don't think it's necessary. But my question to you is there a point of, rise in transmission, rise in cases within Saratoga County, Malta, that you'd entertain some type of, limiting the amount of people in the room or, any type of further guidance on conducting business in the town with regard to COVID?
Well, my answer to that, and I'd like to hear the other board members answer that, Travis. Mine would be yes, there is a point, and what I personally keep my eye on is deaths and hospitalizations. We've had some increase in hospitalizations. To my mind, we get to a very dangerous point when we start using all the beds in hospitals and we don't have availabilities for people who break their leg or who have a heart attack for, and some non-COVID reasons. So, I think, certainly if we reach that stage, we have to take a much harder look at how we're dealing with the crisis. So that's my sense on it.
Yeah, I concur. I think I want to see, I'm obviously not a doctor. I want to see from health experts if we get those recommendations. I know we certainly took that action previously when we had the clear guidance from health, both the county and state health department. And I think we got to, be smart about it and make sure that we don't put anybody at risk.
Yeah, and where do you get your information from? Because I try to look at the Saratoga County Health Department and what they're putting out and things like that. But
I focus on the comments section of Facebook. That seems to be the most.
that's pretty much the true place to go. But I mean, for me at least, that site is a little difficult for me to navigate and kind of understand exactly how Malta's looking, things like that. Is there a better place to go?
That's what I go to. I go to the dashboard for the county because
Not
Dr.
Twitter?
Kuehl's, excuse me?
Not Twitter?
Yeah, Dr. Kuehl's team, the Department of Health does a great job. They have, you can look at the basic one, and then if you hit the tab on the bottom that goes to details, they have even more stuff. The hospitalizations are right there. I think of this morning we had 22 in Saratoga County, so we're still in okay shape, on that score. But the transmission rate of the Delta variant is very disturbing. Dr. Kuehl's, the Commissioner of Health for the county, is an epidemiologist. He's excellent. And he has a strong handle on all this. So we're in touch with him, all the time. We were just talking to him this morning in a meeting from the task force, even though he's in Spain or something and on vacation, so he was just participating in the Zoom meeting from there. So, we, at the county level and the town level, we're keeping a very close eye on it.
And will that information have, just for my own edification, understanding of capacity within the hospitals?
I think it does, Travis, but I'd have to check the details of it to make
But
sure.
obviously, I'm sure there's probably going to
Yeah.
be people that I could reach out to if
Yeah.
I had further questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks.
I'm sure he monitors that also.
Sure.
I mean, it's a lot of data that's daily almost that he watches, and if he feels there's a problem or an issue, I'm sure he's right on it instantly.
He definitely is. Yep. Would anyone else like to address the board? All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Discussion?